Welcome to the Wastewater Treatment Certification webinar series. This is Chapter 1, the operator, and the narrator is John Walker. Why do we require wastewater plants to have a certified operator? It's a very important job because you're at the front line of protecting the public's health and the health of the environment by treating wastewater before it gets discharged into the waters of the Commonwealth. Due to the Safe Drinking Water Act, there is a requirement for people in charge of a wastewater or drinking water plant to be certified, and the certification is done by the Division of Compliance Assistance, Certification and Licensing Branch. This is a regulation, and here you can find this under 401 KAR Chapter 11030, and here is the link that will take you to a downloadable PDF. We classify systems in Kentucky based on their size. A Class 1 has a design capacity of less than 50,000 gallons per day, and anybody with a Class 1, 2, 3, or 4 wastewater treatment license can be in primary responsibility of that plant. Class 2 sizes are going to be larger, anywhere between 50,001 gallons to less than 2 million gallons per day, and these can be under the primary responsibility of Class 2, 3, and 4 certified operators, but not Class 1. Class 3 has a design capacity of greater than 2,000,001 gallons to less than 7.5 million gallons, and again under the primary responsibility of Class 3 or Class 4 wastewater operators. And finally, Class 4 is any plant with a design capacity of greater than 7.5 and 1 million gallons per day, and these can only be under the primary responsibility of somebody holding a Class 4 treatment license. There is a requirement for education and experience to obtain a certification at each level. Class 1 is a high school diploma or GED and 1 year of acceptable operation of a wastewater treatment plant. Class 2 again requires a high school diploma or GED and 2 years of acceptable operation at a wastewater treatment plant. Class 3, again, we need a high school diploma, GED, and 3 years of acceptable operation. 1 year of that shall be in a Class 2 plant or higher. Class 4s are going to be slightly more complicated in the sense that you require a baccalaureate degree in engineering, science, technology. We call these STEM degrees, and there is more operational experience needed. 3 years in a wastewater treatment plant shall be required, but 2 of those will have to be in a Class 3 or higher, more than 2 million gallons per day, and 1 year has to be primary responsibility in a Class 3 or higher plant. If you have a non-STEM degree, if you have a liberal arts degree or a business degree, that can actually count, but only for 25% of the experience. And I would encourage anybody applying for this to check the regulations out first, because they they have other options in there to help you if you don't have everything that's on this slide. We call these other options substitutions, and there are limits to them. For example, education, a degree, an associate's degree, and experiences in other water systems or science experience can only account for up to 50% of the time. So if you need 1 year's experience, you can only substitute for 6 months. 2 years, you can substitute 1 year, but at no time can it be more than 50% of the time required. There were new regulations introduced at the beginning of 2020, which expanded the experience substitution options. And again, I would advise you to read these very closely. And if you have any questions, there will be a phone number and web email that you can contact us at on the last slide of this presentation. Some of the things that also changed in 2020, at the beginning of the year, was that you must have the time in before you apply. And this is going to be the one reason why your application might be denied, that you applied thinking that when you took the class, you would have the experience in. No, the time in must be before you apply. If in doubt, please call us. And the other change makes this very, very important for you and the organization or municipality in which you work, because if your application is denied, you will not be refunded the money that you have paid. We don't want this to happen because we know our budgets are tight. So in conclusion on this slide, if in doubt, please call DCA. We are only too happy to help and make sure that your application will go through, and then you will not lose money. One of the other levels of operator certification that we offer is something called operator in training. And again, the regulations covering this are shown here under Chapter 1130. I will just go through these changes that apply to operators in training. So you can only be eligible to be an operating training for the same type of certification and one level greater than the certification that you already have. That is, if you don't have one and you're new, you can get an OIT Class 1. If you can have a Class 1 license, you can get an OIT 2, but you can't get 3 or 4. Operators with a Class 1 OIT cannot be in responsible charge of a plant. If you have a Class 1 license, you could be in responsible charge of a Class 1 plant, but the OIT designation does not allow that to happen. The operator in training must have a mentor. This is somebody who is certified at a level equal to or greater than the OIT application. So if you're going for an OIT 1, your mentor can be certified at any level. But if you're going for a 2, it has to be 2, 3, or 4. It cannot be, the mentor can't have a Class 1 license. And important for the application is the mentor should submit a letter with the application outlining what the mentor will do and take responsibility for the operator in training. One of the changes that happened in 2020 was that certified operators can now have more than one, can be mentored, that certified operators can mentor more than one OIT. It used to be that there was only one. And important for the mentor is that the mentors will not be held accountable for any action of the OIT unless the mentor instructed the operator in training to violate what the regulations are in 11.020 regulation. So again, if the operator in training does something, so long as you didn't tell them to do something illegal, you will not be responsible for their actions. During this period that you have an OIT certification, if you have enough operational experience, remember for a class 1 it's 1 year, then you can convert that OIT certification into a class 1 without having to retake the examination. During this period, you as an OIT must submit a mentor letter that the confirmation has been confirmed, and the OIT can be removed and a regular class 1 or 2 or 3 certification awarded. Next section looks at all classifications, and this is in regard to when you can renew your license. You renew between the January 1st and June 30th of odd numbered years. So for wastewater, it'd be in 2021 and 2023 and so on and so on. Any continuing education hours that you must have to be earned within that renewal period. For a class 1 and 2, it's 12 hours. For a class 3 and 4, it's 24 hours. Between June 30th, July the 1st and December the 31st, there will be a penalty for renewing. And if you don't renew by the end of the year, the 31st of December, your certification will be terminated. And again, the regulation is here, KAR 1150, section 2, with the web link beneath it. Also in this chapter, we talk about ethics and professionalism. As was mentioned in the very first slide, wastewater operators that have certified are professionals whose job it is to protect the health and welfare of their customers and the environment. And this is very dependent on our understanding of ethics. And it could be determined that ethics is a system of moral principles, doing what is right. Another definition of ethics is the rules of conduct that we have to operate under within a certain group of people. And this also comes back to the individual's moral standing. Of course, we're going to have a regulation about this because it is very important that you act accordingly and correctly, and the ethics is in KR 1120, and these are the standards of conduct for certified operators. This will go over the next couple of slides, but the primary conduct is to protect public health and the health of the environment by making sure that the water that you treat is as free as you can get from anything that is going to pollute the bodies of the waters of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. The second thing that you have to be aware of and do as well as possible is the care and judgment during your daily work. Again, notice the concept of reasonable care and judgment. We can all make an error, and as long as you're doing it with as much understanding of the job as possible, you're covered with this regulation. Important point in C is if you are doing your job as a certified operator and you make a decision on something and your employer overrules that judgment or that action in which the health, safety, welfare is endangered both for the public and the environment, it is the role, the task, the job of the certified operator to let the employer know of the possible consequences. We often say, we'll say it many times, I'm sure, throughout the whole number of presentations that we give you, that if you don't write something down, it didn't happen. And this is a really good example of where if you're asked to do something and you're not sure it's the correct thing to do, write down that you were told to do this and you disagreed, and ask the person who is telling you to do that or change that and ask them to sign it, and that is your protection from the law. The last couple of points is don't lie. Very straightforward. As much as you can, always be truthful. Memories, I know we often forget things, but don't lie. Don't alter water quality results or take samples of water knowing that you're doing it incorrectly to get a better result. There are consequences to breaking these 5 rules that I had shown in the previous 2 slides. Again, those disciplinary actions, there are 4 of them, and I'll go over them one by one. The first one is a probation of your certification, not to exceed 1 year. That would be specified in whatever actions they took. What this means is that you are on notice that if anything else happens, you could very well lose, in the very least, your certification. Your certification could be suspended for a specific period of time, again, not to exceed 4 years, at which during this period, your certification is invalid. That means you cannot be in responsible charge of a water plant. You can still work there, but you can't be in responsible charge of a plant. Your operator's certification could be completely revoked. If that happens, you cannot get a certification of that class in the Commonwealth of Kentucky again. Finally, there is civil or criminal penalties. Hopefully, whatever you do never gets there. And of course, a catch-all for any government regulation, a combination of all the actions listed previously. Finally, a couple of slides to talk about the concept of professionalism. I know you might think that working in a wastewater plant is a very sort of manual laboring type job, but it really is a very professional job because it requires a knowledge, it requires an appreciation of regulations, training, a competency, and that really is the definition of professionalism or a profession. And it goes without saying that be proud of what you do. Cleaning up water or providing drinking water, we all need water to survive, and we all need clean water to be healthy. So again, despite the muckiness of the job, be proud of what you do. Because in a sense, all water operators at some level are there to provide potable water, drinking water that is fit for human consumption. This ends chapter 1, the operator, and as I mentioned earlier, these are the ways to contact us, either by email at envhelp@ky.gov or by phone at 502-782-6189. And I would encourage you as an operator or as a supervisor or anybody involved in applying for certifications, if in doubt, please contact us with your particular situation so that we can advise you whether the application is, we can't tell you on the phone that it will go through, but we can advise you what you need to provide for us to make sure that it has as complete an application process as possible. This concludes chapter 1. Thank you very much.